Hi everybody, I'm Jay Beershank. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today we're here for another edition of book reviews, and you're joining me here in India. We're on a small farm doing a workway near Karnal, which is in the north. Today we're going to review a really good book. I enjoyed this book more than I've enjoyed a lot of the reads I've done recently. It was really captivating, really entertaining, and really inspiring. And that book is Surely You're Joking by Richard Feynman. It's a book about his life. Richard Feynman is a physicist, and he worked a lot on the atom bomb. He was a bit famous for this work that he did. He also won a Nobel Prize when he was around 60 or so. But I'm not going to talk about that so much. I'm just going to talk about purely what I enjoyed about the book. And what I thought was so much fun about this book is the way in which he portrays, at least, his ability to maintain this passion that he had ever since he was a child, where when he became interested in something, he was so able to just pursue it and, figure it out and play with it and experiment and take it all the way. And throughout this whole book, many different times he becomes interested in some idea, whether that's drumming or whether that's painting or whether that's dancing or whatever it happens to be at this point in his life, and he takes it all the way. And it's so much fun to read about, because I think that so many people are envious of that level of passion and that ability to just completely give yourself over to something that you're interested in, which I think is just a really beautiful trait in a person. And it makes for a really entertaining read, because he's doing all these different things and he's just as passionate about each one. But it's also very cool because the whole time he is working as a physicist, he's working as a teacher, and he always maintains this serious passion and curiosity for science and for the scientific method and for researching. But then he's also always going off on these alternative paths of creative expression, which is really entertaining. There's a chapter in this book towards the end. It's called What is Art? I had a really semi-spiritual experience to actually read that chapter. I felt really connected to what he was saying and how he was describing it all. There's a pretty famous quote by Richard Feynman that I had known long before I'd heard of this book and long before I had read the book. And his quote was something along the lines of, "You never truly understand something unless you can explain it to a child." And I love this idea because, it's this idea that you should be able to talk about things that you know in such a atypical kind of blase way. And if you can't do that, if you have to throw in fluff and you have to throw in this kind of intellectual elitism or this kind of stuff where it's like only a select group would understand and be able to talk to you about it, then what you have is more of kind of like a ideology almost. And this is something that he talks about a lot. And when he was talking in this chapter about what is art, I felt like he had such an innocent, beautiful perspective of a man who is just kind of experimenting with his own creativity and with the perception of others and this creative element. And he kind of took it into the scientific method, and it was just a really beautiful chapter. So I would definitely recommend reading this book, just even to read that one chapter. I really enjoyed it. So I don't know if there's much else to say about this book. It's a really good book. It's a really easy read. It's really fun. He writes really well. Often he's talking about dense science and really dense topics, but like I said before, and you can imagine with that quote he explains it in a way that almost makes you feel like you completely understand what he's talking about and you can follow along completely. And I found myself being really engrossed even in the scientific parts of the book, because you feel like you do understand and you can go along with him and you can almost kind of be solving these problems and thinking about them with your own scientific mind, no matter how developed it is, just because of the way that he explains it, which is really fun. Yeah, I would say the book has pretty much everything that it needs to have. It has a lot of humor. I really love some of his social criticisms. He is really critical of the education system and of the government, and he really portrays his ideas in a fun, entertaining way, where it's not necessarily like he's harping about his particular viewpoint and how the government and how the educational system is wrong. He's just kind of like being very logical and coming from a point of like he is a scientist himself, and the way that he sees science being taught in schools and the way that he sees people being educated is just completely, in his perspective, completely wrong. And I think that you can find a way to really validate and respect what he has to say, because he also maintains this level of passionate curiosity. And I think that anybody who is able to maintain this level of passionate curiosity, you have to respect what they say, because he is the person who can self-teach himself anything because he's passionate about it. So he will go down this route to be able to learn it. He doesn't need a teacher because he is so independently curious. And I think that that in and of itself is enough to be able to validate his perspective. And anyway, really good writer. I really enjoyed it. He's really funny, really smart, really easy read. It's maybe about 400 pages, and I found myself reading 50 pages at a time. So that's my review of Surely You're Joking, Mr. Feynman, Adventures of a Curious Character by Richard P. Feynman. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you made it this far, don't forget to like and subscribe, and peace out from India.